We would get together at the playground on Wednesdays after school. I remember running around with the other kids from the nearby blocks, and once tired and out of breath, we would visit the mama shop, sifting through the piles and piles of snacks. We were spoilt for choice. I will never forget the buzz of the crowd in the nearby coffee shop that signaled I was nearing home. Often, I would take away a kopi gao in a styrofoam cup and then head back to challenge my neighbor to a game at the chess table. The columns were a framework to invent our own games. They formed our goalposts, obstacles, our best hiding spots. Then there were the bigger events. Uncles gathered at bird singing corners, the lantern marches of the Mid-Autumn Festival, and times when the blank walls would transform into a wedding hall to celebrate the union of husband and wife, or into a place of mourning over the loss of a loved one. But I am not just one person, and these events are not single occurrences, but experienced by many. The memories shaped from these ordinary spaces have been repeated across different estates in the country, forming a part of a collective memory.
This is not a Malay nation, this is not a Chinese nation, this is not an Indian nation. We are going to have a multiracial nation in Singapore. We will set the example.
After the 1964 racial riots and other ethnic clashes, it became clear that as a multicultural society, the Singaporean identity had to be forged around citizenship and not from a single ethnic perspective. Since Singapore became an independent state, the quest for a post-colonial national identity has been an ongoing construction. Inventions of national identity from the post-colonial period has since manifested itself in the city's urban fabric. A massive public rehousing program in the 1960s saw large-scale clearance of kampong settlements. Other massive urban renewal programs followed, and the 70s saw the proliferation of experimental architecture, which adapted Western ideas to the Singapore context. This was followed by the rise of architectural icons of the global city and a subsequent focus on heritage preservation. Collective urban forms emerge, and several reinforced tenets of a shared identity have been threaded into the form of the city. But among all the built expressions of nation building, it is primarily the repeated and dispersed civic infrastructural provisions which play an important role in establishing place identity for the common Singaporean. The most pervasive form is the public housing estates, or Housing and Development Board estates. Around 80% of Singaporeans live in HDBs today. Public housing has been a site of social engineering from the 1980s, where estates were planned within self-contained towns with a series of common amenities. The introduction of racial quotas in these estates to promote ethnic harmony was also a key part of the nation-building project. Today, a set of guidelines continue to guide the planning of new and existing estates to promote the image of a distinct neighborhood identity. Within this highly circumscribed landscape lies a comparatively ambiguous urban typology. Characterized by a solemn grid and blank walls, void decks are a common feature at the ground floor of HDBs. Originally envisioned as a shared space for residents to interact and build a communal identity among various ethnic groups, it has since become important settings for community life, a canvas for cultural expression and personal appropriation. The lack of fixed program facilitates the informality of play and imagination. The columns provide a flexible framework for cultural expression through the organization of events and activities. The proximity to living quarters breeds new forms of the domestication of public space. These social and cultural rituals have defined the atmosphere of the otherwise ambiguous structures. But the apparent freedom that comes with ambiguous space facilitates spatial practices which can potentially generate friction within the community. The uses of the void deck can be placed on a scale reflecting the spectrum of tolerance from society and state. While there are explicitly allowed and prohibited uses, more contentious activities tend to be informal practices, which range from being mildly tolerated to arousing argument and requiring state intervention. The use of the space is therefore collectively maintained and regulated by both the neighborhood community and the state. The contested uses are also made manifest in the changes in the typology over the years. Existing void decks have seen the introduction of devices which prohibit informal play that can pose dangers to other residents. With land optimization in newer housing plans, void decks are shrinking, or altogether being replaced by other typologies like landscape gardens. Community building activities are being increasingly designated to localized areas like residence corners, pavilions, and community gardens. The collective memory of one generation may soon give way to alternative forms. The Community Gardens is an example of a lauded project which drives community interest within the broader national aspirations of the Garden City. Over 1,000 gardens exist today, with many located within the HDB estate and maintained by its residents. But the bureaucratic processes surrounding the creation and maintenance of the garden, as well as exclusionary barriers to other members of the community, highlights the limits to individual autonomy that comes with more defined community spaces. The void deck is a rich typology that has historically inhabited multiple layers of meaning. On a societal level, it is a shared heritage from early independence years, a stage for cultural diversity, and a collectively maintained communal asset. On the individual level, it is a space for the potential collection, construction, and ownership of familiar symbols, events, and therefore memories, which altogether form an extended communal concept of home. In a similar way, identity formation within shared territories has long existed on the internet, where self-expression occurs within a variety of virtual forms. In the internet's apparent placelessness, there exist certain fixtures for users to form experiences and create virtual artifacts around, facilitating the slow crystallization of an online identity. The uniformity of templates on social media sites facilitate user customization through the self-curation of personal content in a predictable and relatable framework. A sense of ownership can be developed when the atmosphere is primarily constructed by community-created artifacts. At the same time, individual agency is also determined by the forms of expression allowed within the fixed interface, as well as the regulatory framework set by the platform. The mental collection of virtual symbols is also an important part of developing attachments to places on the internet. As an example, AltSpace VR is a social virtual world that can be accessed through a virtual reality headset. While temporary rooms can be created, permanent common spaces become important community markers as its elements gain significance to the individual over time. Placemaking on the internet therefore requires a degree of freedom for creative use, but also the provision of visual and spatial anchors which shape the memory of the community. The development of immersive consumer technologies may soon realize the future of the augmented city, where the physical environment will become the scaffold for which an additional immersive reality of new atmospheres and functionalities is supplemented upon. The project speculates on a potential nationwide implementation of a shared virtual infrastructure in the context of Singapore. Existing smart nation aspirations of the country focus on pragmatic applications. But with overlapping physical and virtual realities, how can hybrid architectural forms facilitate a new kind of public realm? On the urban scale, how will collective virtual territories be allocated in relation to existing community infrastructural provisions? What forms of collective ownership can be enabled across a digital platform, and over which predefined scales? On the architectural scale, how can the intersections between virtual and physical structures be designed to allow new and meaningful interpretations of the existing urban fabric? How will reinventing the collective experience through virtual structures retain or introduce new symbols for the community? In an increasingly globalized community, what role does the communal neighborhood play as a spatial anchor for an individual's identity?